Imagine yourself standing in front of a mirror, looking at your own reflection. You see a person who, you believe, is kind, compassionate, and guided by principles of right and wrong. Perhaps you volunteer your time, care for loved ones, or strive to be fair and just in your daily life. Now, imagine being told that, under the right circumstances, you could become a monster, capable of acts you would never think possible. That unsettling possibility is at the core of Philip Zimbardo's The Lucifer Effect, a chilling examination of how good people can become perpetrators of harm. Let's begin with one of the most harrowing experiments in psychological history, the Stanford Prison Experiment. In 1971, Zimbardo transformed the basement of Stanford University into a simulated prison. 24 ordinary college students were randomly assigned to be either guards or prisoners. What began as a controlled study quickly spiraled into something much darker. Within days, guards began to display cruel and sadistic behavior, abusing their power over the prisoners. The prisoners, meanwhile, slipped into submissiveness, despair, and even mental breakdowns. Zimbardo himself, who assumed the role of the prison superintendent, found himself too immersed in the role to see the cruelty unfolding around him. What happened in that basement revealed a deeply uncomfortable truth. Context and environment can shape behavior more powerfully than most of us like to admit. The transformation wasn't due to inherent evil lurking in the hearts of these young men. It was a product of the conditions, the roles they played, and the dehumanization they experienced. They became monsters, not because they wanted to, but because the situation invited and reinforced that behavior. The line between good and evil, it turns out, is frighteningly thin. But it's not just Zimbardo's experiment that reveals this dark capacity in human nature. Decades earlier, Stanley Milgram conducted a study on obedience at Yale University. Participants were instructed to administer electric shocks to a learner every time they answered a question incorrectly. Unbeknownst to the participants, the shocks weren't real, and the learner was an actor. Yet, as the shocks purportedly grew stronger, and the learner's screams louder, many participants continued to obey the authoritative figure in the white lab coat, who calmly told them to proceed. 65% of people were willing to deliver what they believed to be lethal shocks. Good people, under the influence of authority, were capable of acts that would haunt their consciences if performed outside the laboratory setting. Both experiments highlight a sobering reality. We are more susceptible to influence than we'd like to think. Authority, group dynamics, anonymity, and dehumanization can push us down paths we never imagined walking. In the heat of the moment, rationalizations can blur moral lines. I was just following orders. Everyone else was doing it. It's just a game. This psychological shift can transform anyone into the villain of their own story. Now, pause for a moment. This realization is not meant to strip away hope or paralyze us with fear. If anything, it's a call to awareness, a chance to understand and confront our vulnerabilities. If we know what forces can lead people astray, we can actively resist them. Awareness is the first shield against manipulation and cruelty. It allows us to recognize when we are slipping into dangerous behaviors and patterns. It gives us the power to pause, reflect, and choose a different path. Consider the bystander effect, how people can remain passive in the face of another's suffering when they believe others will intervene. This effect is another way good people can fall into inaction, allowing harm to continue. But by understanding it, we can choose to break the cycle. When you see someone in need, you can step forward, because you're aware that the instinct to stand back is merely that, an instinct, not an inevitability. In resisting the darkness, personal accountability becomes paramount. We must hold ourselves to our own moral standards, even when it's difficult or when others aren't watching. Courage in the face of authority or group pressure requires a commitment to our principles, even if it means standing alone. And when faced with difficult choices, the practice of empathy, seeing others as fully human, with stories, dreams, and dignity, can ground us in our shared humanity. Heroism, as Zimbardo emphasizes, is not reserved for a few extraordinary individuals. It's the conscious act of choosing the light over the darkness, even when the latter is easier. It's speaking out against injustice, protecting those who cannot defend themselves, and refusing to be complicit in harm. Heroism is making small, brave choices every day. So, next time you stand in front of that mirror, reflect on your potential for both good and evil. Understand that the journey toward light is ongoing, shaped by awareness, self-reflection, and courageous choices. You are capable of becoming the hero in your own story, just as easily as you can become the monster. The decision and the responsibility is yours. Choose wisely. Choose light every single day.